Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. The recitation is Maj Mahalla Tija. Gurmukh Milai Milaye Aape, Kaal na jo hai, dukh na santape. Haume maar bandhan sab todai, Gurmukh sabad suhavaniya. Hau wari jiyo wari, har har naam suhavaniya. Gurmukh gaawe, Gurmukh nachai, har seti chit lavaniya rahao. Gurmukh jeevai mare parwan, arja na chijai sabad pashan. Gurmukh mare na kaal na khaye, Gurmukh sach samavaniya. Gurmukh har dar sobha paye, Gurmukh vichon aap gavaye. Aap tare kul sagle tare, Gurmukh janam savaraniya. Gurmukh dukh kade na lagge sarir, Gurmukh hau मैं चूके पीर. Gurmukh man nirmal फिर मैल न लागे, Gurmukh सहज समावणिया. Gurmukh नाम मिले
शोभा पाई, सदा आनंद रहे दिन राती. गुरमुख शब्द करावणिया. गुरमुख अंदन शब्दे राता, गुरमुख जुग चारे है जाता. गुरमुख गुण गावे सदा निर्मल शब्दे भगत करावणिया. बाज गुरु है अंध अंधारा, जम काल गठे करे पुकारा. अनदिन रोगी बिष्टा के कीड़े, बिष्टा में दुख पावणिया. गुरमुख आपे करे कराए, गुरमुख हृदय उठा आप आए. नानक नाम मिले वडियाई, पूरे गुर ते पावणिया. Composition of the third Nanak, Guru Amar Das. The central idea here, those whose lives have been captivated and fashioned by self-knowledge, to them he offers his salutations. How vari jiyo vari, har har naam suhavaniya. Those who have been beautified by self-knowledge, suhavaniya. Gurmukh gave, Gurmukh nache, har seti chit lavaniya. This is the fashioning of one's life. Gave, nache, which means moving to the rhythm and tune of the self. Those are the lives that are worth emulating. And then, how does that happen? Gurmukh Milai Milaye Aape, Kaal na jo hai, dukh na santape. So first off, the self is the trigger, is itself the impulse that reveals Gur wisdom, which in turn leads to the self. It's kind of circular because, as we know, Gurbani tells us that there is only one actor in all of this, and that is the self. So it is the impulse in us that leads us to Gur wisdom, which in turn leads us back to the self. So Gurmukh Milai Milaye Aape. And then, of course, through this process, Kaal na jo hai, dukh na santape. Kaal na jo hai. In other words, the sword of Damocles that hangs over our heads, namely the fear of death, recedes, and the mind is not tormented, santape, the torments of the mind, the anxieties of the mind. These are all existential things that we experience in our day-to-day lives. This is what happens because Gur wisdom causes the ego to melt, and that breaks its bondage to transitory, fleeting things, among other things. The ego melts and all bondage is released, the Guru says. Bandhan sab todai, Gurmukh sabad suhavaniya. So the wisdom of the Guru, the enlightener as we call it, is really the vivifying principle. It is what animates us. It is what awakens us to our true identity. And of course, Gurmukh Jiva Mare Parwan. The Gur guided come alive by dying to the ego, and they then become exemplars. Parwan. They are held out as exemplars. And in fact, that is the ideal in Sikhi, is to become a Gurmukh, that is the sovereign individual. Arjana chijja sabd pachan. Arjana chijja. Chijja means to fray. Arja, of course, refers to our lifetime. So, in other words, life is a success. It is not frayed. It is whole. It is not fragmented. Gurmukh mare na kal na khaye, Gurmukh sach samavneya. So they do not die, a spiritual death that is, nor does the fear of death approach them. Gurmukh har dar sobha paye, Gurmukh vichon aap gavaye, aap tare kul sagle tare, Gurmukh janam savaranya. Now here again is the principle of the Gurmukh melting, dissolving the ego and uplifting humanity. What that simply means is that being a Gurmukh, or facing the Guru, or being the ideal, requires us to look beyond ourselves. It requires us to elevate our consciousness beyond the constricting ego, and in so doing, hold out that opportunity, hold out that possibility to the rest of humanity. Kul. Kul here really refers to humanity, although sometimes one sees it translated as the family. Well, humanity is the larger family. Gurmukh dukh kade na lagay sareer. The Gur guided, the Gurmukh, they overcome the pain of the ego. This is referring to the psychic self within, which is suffering from existential angst. Because Gurmukh haume chuke peer, because Gurmukh has overcome the ego, haume, that pain is also removed. Gurmukh naam mile vadiyai, Gurmukh gun gava sobha pai. The Gur guided receives the gift. This is a vadiyai, a gift. It's grace ultimately. And cultivates the excellences of the self. So this clearly tells us that there is a way to be, an ideal way to be, which is to overcome what is called vikar, defects that we have, which is our default state, because we are born with that primal defect, which we call haume. And so we have to overcome that and cultivate excellences of the mind, which is the true nature of the self. So that process is called the process of Gurmukh, of being a Gurmukh, of being on that process. And those who do that, naam mile vadiyai, what happens to them? Gun gave sobha pai. Gun gave. When they, gun gave can also be taken to mean who live their lives in accordance with the wisdom of the Guru, for whom the Gur is the wisdom that guides them, the compass of their lives. So in other words, they are looking north. They know where north is in any given situation. They know what the right thing to do is intuitively. They don't have to think about it. Sobha pai is they become splendid, is the word for sobha pai. They become exemplars. You hold out their splendid lives. And it's blissful as the life of a Gurmukh. Sada ananda rahe din rati. Gurmukh andin sabde rata, Gurmukh jug chare hai jata, Gurmukh gun gawe sada nirmal. Again, a bit of a repeat here, but Gurbani is repetitive because we really have to think through this over and over again until it becomes automatic. And hence you see a fair amount of repetition because you have to look at this thing over and over and over again, and your attention is then drawn, becomes focused. And once the attention is focused, a shift in perception occurs automatically, sehje. So that's why Guruji is repeating what he has already said, that the Gur guided are filled with devotion. They are filled with love, and they become attuned to the one that pervades in all ages. Gurmukh Jugchare hai jata. Jugchare here is the one that permeates all the ages, that is eternal, and they live in accordance with the pure self. And of course, Baj Guru hai andara. Without this enlightening principle, if we did not have access to this enlightening principle called Guru, which is the creator, Shabad, we would be stuck in deep darkness of the ego because we would have no way out. And then, Jamkal garat hai kare pukara, we would be trapped and our voices would not be heeded. And so the Creator, in its benevolence, has given us access to this channel of knowledge called Guru, Shabad Guru. And Gurmukh Aape kare karaye, Gurmukh hirday utha aap aaye, Nanak naam mile vadiyai, pure gurte pavanaya. This is the conclusion. When the gift of self-knowledge is bestowed by the perfect enlightener, Nanak naam mile vadiyai, the gift, pure gurte, pura gur, the primordial teacher, the enlightener, the creator, the gur as in the Mool Mantar. And then the Gurmukh finds union with the self, within the heart, the core of one's being. So this is a process within of the mind, the elevation of our consciousness into another realm, suprasensory, if you will, where you can perceive reality without relying on the faculty of the senses. What that implies is that within us lie hidden faculties that are not awakened, that are latent. And it is Gur Sabad that awakens these faculties of direct perception, experience of what reality is. And then life becomes blissful. The thing to note in this passage is there is a recurring use of Gurmukh. And so it is important to understand that the term Gurmukh has several connotations. And depending on how it is written or spelled, and the context in which it appears, the meaning of Gurmukh can vary. Now, mostly it is written with the vowel Sihari, as in Gurmukh, with the Sihari, which is the vowel signed at the end of the word. When that is used, Gurmukh is to be treated as a preposition or an adverb, which is a word that links and shows a relationship between a noun to another word in the sentence. So in English, above, by, through are some examples of prepositions that join a word to the noun. So if you take it in that way, Gurmukh becomes by facing the Guru or by turning to the Guru, where Guru is the noun and by facing or by turning are the prepositions. But remember that its meaning is also determined by its context, as in this passage where it has been used in both ways. Gurmukh without the vowel, with an ankar, is not as frequent, but when it is used, it is primarily a direct reference to the Creator, to Shabad Guru. On that note, until the next time, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.